Hello, Uplanders. We've been waiting for this announcement for quite a long time, and now it's here. Upland has just given us the first insight into Upland neighborhood ratings. These neighborhood ratings will allow for new collections to be spawned in neighborhoods that have very strong community and economic activity. In this video, I'm going to explain everything that Upland has said about this so far, with the hopes of clarifying a lot of people's questions, as well as providing you some insight on how you can strategically move forward in this game. This video is sponsored by the Lake Wacomas Collective in Kansas City, and more on them throughout the video. All of the information and discussion going on regarding these neighborhood ratings can be found on this subreddit, and the link here is in the description below. We can see here that they go into detail about everything that they've been thinking of. There's also quite a lively discussion down here where I have also asked a number of questions which I will go into as well in this video. And it's also really important for me to show you here that General Mort has actually responded to a number of my comments, including one of them here saying, appreciate the feedback. I will definitely share it with the team. Like I said, none of this is final, so the perspective helps. So this essentially means that Upland has not finalized anything that is written here, but they are looking to get feedback from the community so that they can implement some changes if needed. It's also important to note that Upland employees are not allowed to play Upland. So to understand what we as community members are trying to do and how we act and how we think in the metaverse is difficult for them to grasp, as they are just flies on the wall because they cannot actively participate in what we are doing as players. So make sure that if you do have comments or you have some ideas of how this should work, if you like it or if you don't, head on over to the subreddit and give your feedback there. So now let's jump in. What are neighborhood ratings? Upland says here that neighborhood ratings are basically a mechanism that measures how much value each neighborhood is creating for the broader Upland community. The more value each neighborhood creates, the more valuable that neighborhood becomes. Upland is saying here that people who work together, who develop their own neighborhoods, should be rewarded for doing that. Land in the metaverse is not meant to sit idle. The whole idea is to build these communities, have people living there, create experiences, sell goods, and provide value to the community at large. Lake Wacomas is an interesting community and node because the entire neighborhood is situated around this funky shaped lake. We can see here exactly where it's located in Kansas City, and one of the ways that they plan on providing value to the community is through a racetrack. We can see here that this is the planned racetrack which goes exactly around this lake. They currently have an NFLPA fan shop, and they have also applied for other MetaVenture shops to be located in the same area. We can also see here that they have begun developing their neighborhood with structures all across the lake. So Lake Wacomas has an interesting value proposition to provide the community at large, not only the people who are actively part of the community, but also the other people who are traveling through Kansas City or who live in other neighborhoods there. When we look at how a neighborhood is able to provide value, we have to turn that into some metrics and to some things that are actually measurable. And this is how Upland is proposing to measure that value. The first of the 5 metrics is dedicated spark hours for building structures per property. For this, Upland is taking all of the total spark hours that are required to build all of the structures in the neighborhood. So for example, this apartment building, which takes 5,800 spark hours to build, will be added to all the other spark hours and divided by the number of properties, which in Lake Wacomas is 449. Now, you're probably thinking 449 properties is not a very large neighborhood, and that's absolutely true. How would other communities that maybe have thousands of properties in them ever get an opportunity to become a neighborhood collection when it's a lot easier to develop 449 properties than it is to develop thousands? And Upland has said that there is going to be some sort of a factor that is applied based on the number of properties that are in each neighborhood. So that should level out the playing field in some way. The second metric is the number of residents with a designated home address per property. Players who have built homes and have gone through the KYC process are able to designate their home address in Upland. We can see here that this player, he has set his home address to Lake Wacomas. That way everyone is able to recognize that he is part of this community. So the number of players who have defined Lake Wacomas as their homes divided by the total number of properties is this second metric. Each player is only able to have one home address, and if there are a few number of people who own a large percentage of each neighborhood, then it's going to be a lot harder to get a lot of points in that specific metric. The Lake Wacomas Collective recognizes this, and they're actively looking for new people to become a part of their community. If you want to be a part of this cool racing community around a lake, you can reach out to them through their Discord, which is linked in the description below. It's unclear exactly how this will function, but the co-founders of Upland have mentioned that boats will be something that will be also entering the metaverse. So this could make Lake Wacomas an even more exciting place to call home. The third metric is the total number of MetaVentures per property in that neighborhood. So we're talking about Block Explorer shops, Legit's fan shops. We're also talking about factories, showrooms, dev shops, and others that we don't even know about yet. In the description below, you can find a link to learn about all the different types of MetaVentures that have been mentioned by Upland. Some of them are still in beta testing, and some of them haven't even started beta testing. Metric number 4 is dedicated spark hours for outdoor decor items per property. So the first metric that I had mentioned is talking about building up the properties, and now this one we're talking about adding outdoor decor items. Maybe it's a flagpole, a barbecue, a swimming pool, something in your backyard or on your front lawn. All of these things that will decorate your home are also important for this neighborhood rating. So if each of these 449 properties had a mailbox in front of the house, and that mailbox took 50 spark hours in order to build, then the 50 spark hours times 449 properties divided by the total number of properties, which is 449, gets you back to that 50. So that 50 would be the score on this metric for this neighborhood. So it's not so much the total number of different items that you have on your properties. The metric takes into account how expensive it was in terms of spark hours to build these items. So if you're part of a community, you might want to start thinking about some standardization in terms of outdoor decor items. What kind of things do you want on your properties? How should they all look? And trying to find a designer who might be able to design something specific for your neighborhood in order to stand out. The last of the 5 metrics that measure value of a neighborhood is the total monthly community pool UPEX contribution per property. If you want to learn more about the different pools, there's the Upland pool and the community pool. Take a look at the link in the upper right-hand corner. And I actually received some clarification from General Mort regarding this. I asked a couple of questions because it wasn't clear for me and for a lot of people. This metric covers any of the activity from MetaVentures in that neighborhood, as well as sales of properties in that neighborhood. So from all of the MetaVentures and other businesses that are in the neighborhood, every time an asset is sold, a portion of that sale does get contributed to the community pool. It's not entirely clear exactly how that's going to be calculated, and I'm not sure we'll ever find out, but that entire contribution divided by the number of properties is this last metric. So these are the 5 important metrics that Upland is going to be using to measure how much value each neighborhood is creating. Now, we don't know if these are going to be weighted equally. It's very possible that they are not. If I'm going to give my 2 cents in the matter, I would say the most important of these metrics is the number of residents. If you want to have a community, the biggest way to actually show that is by having, in this instance of the Lake Wacomas Collective, where there's 449 properties, ideally you would want 449 different people to be part of this community and have every one of those people call Lake Wacomas their home. In the future, hopefully we will also be able to rent out our homes. So a property that has an apartment building might be able to have more than one person who calls that property their home. So if I was Upland, I would be giving more than the equal 20% weight to that specific metric. At the end of each month, all of these metrics will be calculated for all of the neighborhoods in Upland, and the top neighborhoods will spawn new collections. Similar to existing property collections like holding 3 properties in the Mission District in San Francisco, this will provide you with a 1.4x earning boost on the 3 properties that you hold in this collection. Something similar is being proposed by Upland, where if you hold 3 properties in that specific node, then you would get an additional boost on those properties. It's unclear if there's going to be this one-time reward as well. Now, at the beginning of this video, I showed you this reply from General Mort, where he said, appreciate the feedback. I will definitely share it with the team. Like I said, none of this is final, so this perspective helps. And this was in reference exactly to these collections. I personally don't think that it's a good idea to have 3 properties in that node in order for it to spawn a collection and for you to get a boosted earnings. Like I said before, my ideal node would have every single property owned by a different player, and each one of those players would have that neighborhood as their home. And based on Upland's proposal, nobody would benefit from these boosted earnings in that method. It's possible that you now want to join the Lake Wacomas Collective and you are able to only get 1 property, but you essentially become the most active member in the community. Maybe you're elected mayor. You should absolutely be able to benefit from the fact that your neighborhood is one of the top communities in Upland. So Upland is taking these 5 metrics and calculating every month. There will be one neighborhood in all of Upland that will be ranked at the top and will spawn a new collection. Once a neighborhood spawns a collection, it then goes into a different measuring system and it goes into a different competition where it will be competing against all of the other neighborhoods that have already spawned these new neighborhood collections, and they will be competing against each other to continue to boost their neighborhood ratings. Once you've spawned a collection and you start getting additional boosted earnings on those properties, you can continue to upgrade the collection that your neighborhood is in on a monthly basis as long as you continue to outperform the other neighborhoods that are in that competition. So to explain this a little better, let's take 10 different neighborhoods that are part of this competition. Now all of these 10 neighborhoods have spawned collections, and now they are going to be competing against each other on a monthly basis in order to continue to boost their earnings. So the first big change is that we are no longer looking at the total metrics, but we are looking at a month-over-month percentage growth, not their overall rating, which is the metric that is being used in order to gain entry into this collection spawn competition. So once your neighborhood spawns a collection, the work is not over. Your work is just beginning. Because now the goal is not specifically just to build, whether it be building more homes or getting more outdoor decor, but you have to show actual growth. Maybe that means adding more outdoor decor. Maybe that means opening up more meta ventures and bring more customers into your neighborhood in order to generate more economic activity. So based on your neighborhood's percentage growth, we can see here that the neighborhoods in the 80th percentile, in this case would be the top 2 neighborhoods, would receive an additional 0.1 times multiplier on their earnings. The bottom 20%, which would be the bottom 2 neighborhoods, would see a decrease in their boosted earnings by 0.1%. And everybody in the middle would remain exactly where they are. Now, when we're talking about decreasing the boosted earnings, this is in addition to the base earning that every single property owns. You won't go below that. So at the end of each month, if you are in the top 20% of neighborhoods that show growth, you will receive an additional 0.1 times multiplier boost. And if you are in the bottom 20%, you will see a decrease in those boosted earnings. Now, this type of competition is further incentivizing these neighborhoods that are able to continue to grow, continue to innovate, and attract more people to that neighborhood. So this is how you can upgrade your community from something that is not a collection at all the way up to an ultra rare collection. Now, there are 2 big questions around this. The first one being, what happens if the neighborhood is already an exclusive collection? And the second one is, what if I've been developing my neighborhood now for over a year and I don't have anything to show for it? Regarding the first scenario, if you are part of a neighborhood that is already an exclusive collection, typically it's going to be more difficult for someone to create a community around those exclusive properties. But if you are able to do so, and you're able to win the first competition in order to spawn a new neighborhood collection, you would not be starting at this first level here. You would already be starting at the exclusive rarity level. And from there, you would be able to continue to increase your boosts all the way up to an ultra rare. So you're already halfway there. Now, regarding all of these other neighborhoods that have been working very diligently at building up their neighborhoods already, I would imagine that when they spawn these collections, they wouldn't necessarily be starting at the bottom at these standard collections. It might be possible that the top few neighborhoods would already jump up to a limited or even an exclusive collection. So I don't think everything is lost for these people who have already been working hard developing their neighborhoods. I personally really like the thought process that was put into this and the direction that this is heading. Hopefully, they will make some tweaks on this based on the feedback that they have received from the community. I hope that the Upland team is also watching this video and hearing what I have to say on the matter. We are already starting to see a lot of healthy competition between some of these nodes, and integrating these collection boosts into the game itself is going to strengthen these rivalries, create new rivalries, and this will in turn strengthen the entire Upland community and the metaverse. There is still no timeline as to when this will be implemented, but in the meantime, hopefully this video has given you a little bit more insight and it can help you strategize and navigate the metaverse in how you want to play this game. Once again, if you're interested in joining the Lake Waukomis Collective in Kansas City, the link to their Discord server is in the description below, along with the subreddit where you can provide Upland with your feedback and thoughts. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and continue watching these videos below to learn more about the metaverse.